And blessed to be with you, Kevin Miller in the morning at KIDO Talk Radio. What a wonderful night we had last night at God and Country. So blessed to be with you, and to everybody that made that happen, Ray Amaya, Jeff Suit, and so many others. And thank you for your well wishes. Incredible fireworks. Thank you to the God and Country Board for having us there. I hope you enjoyed the music. And I don't think we've got many complaints from the Clyde Lewis crew. But that's what we do in Idaho. We celebrate Idaho, we celebrate America, and we celebrate the Lord. A lot going on today. By the way, I want to thank Aaron and Rob at T Mazda Subaru for having us out there yesterday, kicking off the God and Country Day, and hopefully next year it'll be God and Country Week. But a lot going on here. We've got the Libs last night having their big debate. We'll talk a little bit about that. You have a member of the U.S. national women's team saying something derogatory about the White House. We'll get to that. Medical marijuana, you've got Radical Russ, who's giving his initiative and going to try and do that. The pro-marijuana guy. It's funny, though, Radical Russ, I've reached out to him a few times, and he has not responded. I guess the young people call that showing me a ghost or ghosting me. Joining us now to talk about the challenges of the illegals, the illegal voting, and, his thoughts on last night's Democratic debate, the author of How to Get Illegals to Go Home, Dr. John Baker, joining us here on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller. Dr. Baker, good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. Fortunately, I did not watch the debate. What I'm focused on is the Supreme Court decision this morning between 10 and 10:30 regarding Eastern Time, regarding whether the census can ask the question, are you a citizen?
And why is that so important, sir?
Well, the question has been asked for most of our history, but the last time it was formally on the census that goes to everyone was 1950, but the Census Bureau has created other instruments that go to some few people, relatively speaking, and the question's been generally on that document or those documents. But right now, we don't know the number of citizens in the country. In fact, Secretary Ross basically has told us, if you read his memo, that the number is grossly underestimated. And that is because the Census Bureau in 2012 estimated 11 to 12 million illegals in the country, but they realize now that the figure that they used was grossly inadequate. Why? Because they used one of these forms that doesn't go to everyone. And they've been able to show that the number of responses were, in many cases, up to 30% simply false. That is, there are many people claiming to be citizens on these forms when they weren't. So if you use the figures that the Census Bureau itself has developed, it appears that there's more likely to be about 25 million illegals in the country. Yale University, not long ago, came out with a study, one of the institutes there did, and they estimated at least up to 22 million. So you can't handle policy, you can't do many things unless you know who's a citizen and who's not.
Sure, Dr. Baker, but you have the libs saying, well, we don't need to worry about this. We're going to let everybody. And in fact, Julian Castro last night said that he wants to decriminalize the misdemeanor that it is to break into the country illegally.
Yeah, that's not a country. It then ends up being like many of the third world so-called countries. You know, a state has to have its borders. A place that has no borders has no control. And the reality is there are many failed states in the world. There are some that we know are failed or are labeled as failed, like Somalia. But the reality is many of the countries, or several of the countries in Central America, are failed states. They can't control their borders. The organized crime cartels, drugs, human trafficking, etc., gun running, they run those countries. The governments are governments nominally. They don't have the military force, they don't have the firepower, they don't have the money, they don't have the guns, to compete with the drug gangs. And so if that's the kind of world you want to live in, good luck.
Dr. John Baker joining us. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. I think we're getting a little feedback there or something. 107.5 FM, 580 AM. So what about the illegals voting? What do you make of that?
Well, that's the big problem. Even somebody here legally in the country has the materials to vote illegally. That is, I teach a number of foreign students, and they come here legally on a visa. They get a driver's license generally. And the reason is we want them to have a driver's license. We want them to have insurance. And if they're working on campus, which is legal, they have to have a social security card. So with those two elements, even though there is, in some instances, some kind of statement that their driver's license is temporary or is for a certain period of time, they have the elements to go register to vote. That's where the fraudulent voting these days largely occurs, is in the registration to vote. Remember that about 40% of illegals in the country came in legally.
Dr. Baker, finally, is there a solution? We've got the Democrats and the media saying where people are dying at the border, yet refusing to fund the Border Patrol, refusing to fund folks to take care of these people.
Well, the administration, I know, is working hard with both Guatemala and Mexico. Guatemala has agreed to become a refugee country. And that means that if people, under the refugee legislation, as I understand it, it's the first country that they can get to that's a safe country. Mexico has, at least to this point, resisted doing that. But our government is this administration is trying to get them to change and to accept that so that they are not just passing through these countries, that they can stop them there. The real weapon that President Trump has, and he mentioned it in the campaign, but he hasn't mentioned it lately. These countries are totally dependent, not on foreign aid, but upon remittances. That is, the money sent home by those who come to the country, both legally and illegally.
Well, Dr. Baker, if people want to get your latest work, what can they do?
Well, that's on Amazon. We're waiting for this decision today by the U.S. Supreme Court, and we're going to have a website up that's called Our Citizenship Counts. So depending on what the Supreme Court does, you'll be able to get more information on that website.
Well, not that we're attorneys or a PhD, but on the other hand, it would seem common sense that, you go back to the purpose of the census. It wasn't here to count the illegals. It was here to count the citizens.
Yes, it historically it's a little bit complicated in that we were at the beginning and for much of our history, quote, an open borders country. We wanted more citizens. That began to change over 100 years ago, and in 1921, we passed the first real tough immigration law.
Dr. Baker, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. God bless. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. This is funny. How many of you watch Channel 7? Now, Channel 7 is our news partners, and you have other people that, they like Channel 7. Channel 7's a big, big deal. We were very blessed last night to have Dee Sarton and Carolyn Holly, anchors emeritus from Channel 7, helping us with God and Country with David Ferdinand and so many others, our friend Dale and others at the God and Country Festival in Israel and everybody else. Kevin Harper and Sandy, and we could go on and on and on. But so Channel 7 has this thing called Verify. And it says, verify. No, people who move to Idaho aren't turning the state liberal. Data analyzed by KTVB shows that, yes, there are more registered Democrats in Idaho in recent years, but the GOP has seen their party grow by more than 200,000 votes. Now, we're going to play the debate stuff last night. I know a lot of folks don't have MSNBC. I was at God and Country, so I didn't see it. So we'll hear the debate stuff back and forth. So if you'd like to comment on that, they mentioned Donald Trump, by the way, 71 times. Your call at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Also, this issue involving the medical marijuana initiative. Are you in favor of that? Obviously, I believe it's a Trojan horse. But I love this idea that Idaho is not turning liberal. I would say Idaho, to a degree, is turning rude. Now we look at what's going on the road. By the way, can ACHD, and I don't know who runs Canyon County, maybe they have CHDD or whatever, can they mess up the roads even more? Whether you're in the city of Boise, which State Street they've turned into like Sonoma, the NASCAR race, or you're in Meridian where 10 Mile is all loose rock, so you go to Linder and all of a sudden that's Detour City, and then Star Road, and then you go around the Idaho Center. It's just crazy. And we'll get to the transportation issues, but at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, I find this story interesting. Discourse in the comment section of social media posts on local politics can quickly blame newcomers for varying issues. Well, first of all, Channel 7 didn't speak with us, the political voice of record here in the Treasure Valley. We don't say that like, hey, here we are. We're not. We're people that get up each and every day and go to work, right? We're blessed to have a job. We're blessed to be with each other. So Channel 7 set out to verify the claims by looking at data of registered voters. Registered voters have nothing to do with it. Look at what happened in Ada County. And look at the fears of the Ada County Republican Party, the Idaho State Republican Party, and people all across the area. You have 2 Democrats now with the Ada County commissioners. And then you have Commissioner Visser. Many people think that he should be more conservative. That's what they're saying. I'm not saying that. That's what they're saying. So you look at the Ada County itself, it has become more competitive. How that impacts Congressman Fulcher, who the majority of his district is made up of Ada County, I don't know. Maybe the North will continue to carry it along with reliable Canyon County. But to say that Idaho is not getting more liberal, I think is crazy. So here you have it from Channel 7. The latest data from 2019, Idaho has over 850,000 registered voters, about 43,000 more than 2016. Republicans made up 50.8%, a jump of about 18%, about 200,000. The Libs, they made up 12.7%. Okay, just over 108,000. So if there are only 108,000 Libs, and what is that, over 8 times that of Republicans, why didn't Brad Little destroy Paulette Jordan? Why didn't Russ Fulcher run away with it, which he did? Why do we have the city of Boise, which is in fact harboring the Libs, which the city of Boise wants to turn Idaho into Portland, where you have the majority of the people that are elected? Is there any Republican in the city of Boise that's elected? So at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, do you agree with this story from Channel 7 saying that the Libs are coming, but we're not turning more liberal? I think you can look at data, and data is great, and you can do a zip and a zap, but a bing and a bang. But what's in your gut? What's your feeling on the streets? And let's go back to the last local elections where you had 2 Ada County commissioners running for reelect that were run out. 580-5436, 580-KIDO, plus your thoughts on the debate. If you didn't hear it, they were all angry. I mean, they were all angry, right? What does that mean? Hey, vote for me because I'm mad. Anyway, trying to make sense of the nonsense. We appreciate you joining us. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
Donald Trump, the mess in the White House. Donald Trump,
he who will not be mentioned.
They didn't talk about Donald Trump very much.
Beat Trump.
Beat Trump.
Who could beat Trump?
The Republican president. The use of the word Trump after Trump. After Trump, Donald Trump.
No one's flying private except Donald Trump.
Donald Trump's name.
Trump's views.
Trump's doorstep.
Trump's position. Donald Trump.
Voted for Donald Trump.
Healed the wound by getting rid of Donald,
Yes, Trump. Donald Trump says Donald Trump tweets with his little
thumbs. Donald Trump
is Donald Trump. The anti-Trump.
Trump's name didn't mention Donald Trump, invoked Donald Trump.
Lord Voldemort.
Hey, we can actually beat Trump. Trump in the room.
On stage with Donald Trump to beat this president.
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump.
End of Donald Trump. You've got to get rid of Donald Trump. Trump wasn't there.
While he wasn't the first to mention Donald Trump, it was his mention of Trump. Think of Trump.
Referendum on Trump.
The referendum on Trump. I want you to calm down. It'll be okay.
The ethics of Donald Trump.
Trump is the enemy. Take it to Trump.
This is Trump's fault.
There we have it. The objective coverage that was last night's debate. If you watched it, well, we'd love to hear what you have to say. If you didn't, the usual suspects talking about why they hate America. They don't love America. They hate America. Let's go to your voices on KIDO Talk Radio. We go to Pete in Mountain Home. Pete, good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. I did not watch, listen to, or in any way participate with the Democrat debate, but I can summarize it in 2 points very quickly. First one, let's see. Donald Trump is an evil, racist, homophobe, Islamophobe, misogynistic, hates immigrants, evil, bad, bad, bad. And 2, we're going to give you everything free. Does that cover it? I think that covers it.
I was at God and Country last night, so I don't know.
Well, you didn't have to be there.
But they just seem so angry. Let's hear from Bill de Blasio, why he's there, I don't know. Let's take a listen.
For the last 21 years, I've been raising a black son in America. And I have had to have very, very serious talks with my son Dante about how to protect himself on the streets of our city and all over this country, including how to deal with the fact that he has to take special caution because there have been too many tragedies between our young men and our police, too, as we saw recently in Indiana.
Okay, there we go. How about Senator Booker?
I've taken on bullies and beat them. I've taken on tough fights, and we've won. And we win those fights not by showing the worst of who we are, but rising to who's best. Donald Trump wants us to fight him on his turf and his terms. We will beat him. I will beat him by calling this country to a sense of common purpose again.
He sounds like a bully.
He really, they are. Basically, you just have to laugh at them. I mean, otherwise you get so mad listening to that crap. But I would like to advise de Blasio's son Dante that he really needs to worry more about being shot by other young black men than he does police, because that really is who's doing most of the killings of young black men.
Pete.
But of course, that's in New York City and Chicago and Baltimore and Los Angeles and San Francisco. And oh wait, those are all cities run by Democrats, aren't they? Let's not talk about that.
Just their tone.
Yeah,
they're just not happy people.
Those poor children on the border that they're so worried about. I don't hear them being worried about the poor children or the homeless people in, say, Los Angeles and San Francisco and Seattle and Portland and all those other Democrat cities.
Right.
Aren't those children suffering?
Agreed.
But, yeah, I think we can all agree that, we need everything free, and we'll just make somebody else pay for it. We'll use somebody else's money. Hey, it worked in Venezuela, didn't it?
Our great friend Pete from Mountain Home. God bless you, brother.
Bless you, sir.
All right. 580-5436. 580-KIDO. Let's get you to work safely and on time. KIDO Talk Radio time is 6:28 with Kevin Miller in the morning. Hello, Robin.
This economy has got to work for everyone. And right now we know that it isn't. And it's going to take all of us coming together to make sure that it does. Necesitamos incluir cada persona en el éxito de esta economía.
There we have it. Bilingual Beto. Coming up next, more of your comments on the debates, medical marijuana, the initiative gets rolling, plus your calls about the issues that matter to you. Want to again thank everybody for what a wonderful time we had last night at the Treasure Valley God and Country Festival. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie. By the way, it was great to see so many senators, representatives, Mayor Kling last night. Thank you all again for attending God and Country. Thank you all for supporting this great radio station, KIDO Talk Radio. Great to see Art from Star and so many others. Thank you all for joining us last night for the Treasure Valley God and Country show. Coming up at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, more of your reaction from the debate last night and This issue involving Megan Rapinoe and the President of the United States. She talking about not going to the White House. He's saying that she has disrespected the White House. So we've got a lot going on here this morning. Remember, when you hear Fox News on the radio, you're listening to KIDO Talk Radio. Joining us now from Capitol Hill is Rachel Sutherland of Fox News Radio. Rachel, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Kevin.
Always a pleasure to have you here. So the big Democratic debate in Miami, anybody churning yet in Washington? Any breaking news that happened? Did anybody get mad?
Well, I think that maybe Beto O'Rourke either got mad or got flustered. I don't know that he had the best night. He just didn't really seem to be connecting. He almost looked like a kid who was up at the spelling bee, He did, he was the first candidate to speak in Spanish. I believe 3 candidates did, and Cory Booker kind of gave him the side eye. And I think, though, as far as winners and losers, I mean, Beto obviously didn't have a good night, but Julian Castro, former HUD secretary under President Obama, former San Antonio mayor, he really did well considering that he's been polling around 0 to 1%. It was during an exchange over immigration that he kind of took down Beto. It was of note that he didn't go after Senator Elizabeth Warren. He was going after kind of the weakest link in the chain there. So I think he had a good night. I think Tulsi Gabbard had some reasonable responses and what seemed to be connecting. Elizabeth Warren checked all the boxes she was supposed to check. She had a solid performance. I wouldn't say she knocked it out of the park. But, it was kind of tough to really get a lot of meat out of these candidates. They only had 60 seconds to be able to respond to questions.
And from what I saw, which was very brief, the MSNBC plethora of anchors didn't really let these folks run wild and free. They just refused to be overtalked.
That's right. I mean, there were a couple of times when people were overrunning their time, and Beto was one of them. I hate to pick on him, but he was. And they did. They cut it off because they need to be able to ask all the questions that they wanted to get in, and they had 2 hours to do it. There was some back and forth between the candidates, but largely it was kind of like an introduction to who these people are. I mean, you think about former Maryland Congressman John Delaney, people are like, well, who's that? John Hickenlooper, who's that? So you had a chance to really hear from these folks, but I don't know if they're going to be able to gain traction, especially this debate will be forgotten by tonight's debate when it'll be Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders and Kamala Harris there on the stage, and it'll be a different take and flavor.
And just going into the kind of, I don't know, I want to say absurd, but the kind of the weeds of this, I don't know if Governor Inslee of Washington made the cut. I know he was circling around. Then you have, I believe his name is Governor Bullock of Montana, didn't make the cut.
He did not make it, but Inslee did.
Okay, so you have, these Western governors that are in there, again, trying to be relevant. And, if you don't make the cut in the first debate, obviously they'll spend more time in Iowa and New Hampshire. We'll see what happens. But you have to wonder how this game changes. Beto O'Rourke, a successful congressman, had a good run, but and you've covered these races, not only at the congressional level, but the presidential level. You're a veteran political reporter. This is welcome to the NFL. This is something very different than most of these folks, with the exception of Joe Biden, have ever been a part of.
That's right. It's new to them, and you got that impression. Even Elizabeth Warren, as steady as she usually is, did seem a little nervous at the opening of the debate. I think they understood that this is high stakes. They had their chance to really present themselves, almost like American Idol, one chance and you could be out. So I think that with some of them, they may start dropping out. I can't really predict who yet. You would think the ones that didn't make the cut, like Bullock, I mean, why are they going to keep going if they can't even get on the debate stage? Beto could have been a swan song. I don't know if he's going to keep going. Eventually, they'll just start running out of money and support, and others will start emerging, up to the top. And we get an idea of who may become the nominee. Of course, Joe Biden has been leading in the polls substantially, but tonight he's going to need to fend off attacks from other candidates that he has been largely ignoring. He's been running a general election campaign, but tonight he's going to have to acknowledge those candidates. I expect that Sanders, Kamala Harris, they're going to be trying to take a chunk out of Joe Biden. He's going to need to hold his own, much in a way that Elizabeth Warren did with making sure you check the boxes, you don't make any big errors, and you're just able to give a solid performance.
Rachel Sutherland, anything else besides the president feuding with the U.S. soccer team?
Not really. Of course, he's on his way to the G7. I believe maybe he's just arrived. I mean, look for him to be meeting with the world leaders on the sidelines, especially as he's trying to drum up allied support for a situation with Iran. Also, he's going to be meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping as they try to work out a trade deal, these tariffs that have been escalating. So he has a full plate of international issues as he goes to the G20. The only tweet, maybe he had a couple of tweets last night, but his main one during the Democratic debate was just in all caps, boring.
Yeah.
So
he was something else. Rachel, we appreciate you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you. All right, we go to Liberal Steve, who joins us now on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller in the morning. Good morning, sir. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Buenos dias, Idaho. Welcome to Little Mexico. Tragedies on the border. That is though extremely sad that anybody has to flee the country they're in because they're so desperate to get out that they can take a chance at losing their life or the life of their family. What I called you about was to ask you how God and Country went. That was a Christian program, I believe, right?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Well, were you there? Did you attend?
God and Country?
Yes.
Yes.
Was it a good turnout?
It was great turnout, great people, wonderful time. We've been talking about it all morning long, and we were blessed to be a part of it. Great fireworks display, and just humbled to be there. And you know, the people that were there working, the volunteers, the attendees, the sponsors. It really is one of the things that highlights just how great our area is.
No one stomping the grounds, pushing medical marijuana?
You know, that measure failed by 20 voters. It's over. Will not go on the ballot. Done.
Oh, did they turn in their 55,000 already?
They turned in their petitions, and according to one of the publications that actually does real news, they fell 20 votes short. But they vow to come back 20 valid signatures short. They'll have to restart the process. And you know what? And you know what that really says? That says that more people in Idaho agree with Kevin Miller and law enforcement, and that if when it did go on the ballot, the voters of Idaho, that would be the best thing that would happen to the state Republican Party, because you would have so many people voting and saying no. It would really charge the conservative turnout.
Yeah, you know what scares me though, Mr. Miller, more than anything.
I didn't really ask what scares you, but since you're ready to volunteer.
Yes, I am. Okay. Kratom. Have you ever heard of Kratom?
Actually, we had a gentleman on for a documentary filmmaker, Chris Bear, who just did a Netflix documentary on Kratom. He says Kratom's the new best thing.
Well, Kratom, a lot of, and your Dr. Max would probably know a lot about this since he's in China and stuff. A lot of your Asians in Thailand and during the Vietnam War, a lot of American soldiers saw the locals chewing Kratom. The leaf is Matria or something like that. It's like a coffee. It's some
all right, we're really going into the weeds here. So what's your point with due respect?
My point is they outlawed the marijuana that you cannot overdose from, you cannot die from, but you can go anywhere.
You can die from marijuana.
Name one person that's died from marijuana.
Oh, I can list a lot of people that have died. It's horrible for your lungs, the chemicals they put into it. You don't know what's in marijuana. This whole fallacy of marijuana being healthy, it should be thrown out. Myself, William Bennett, and Nancy Reagan, God rest her soul, would attribute that.
Kevin, I asked you to name one.
I could go on, sir. And I will. I don't have that with me right at this time.
But Kratom that you can buy anywhere is hallucinogenic. It's an opioid. They use it to get off opioids. You can buy it just about, I think, 3 states in the United States outlawed. But otherwise, children can buy it. You can walk in. It's crazy. So that'll be the next big thing, trying to get Kratom off the market. because you can hallucinate from it.
Well, dude, look, they have CBD oil is the great elixir. CBD oil solves everything. I had a couple very nice, respectful people for entertainment purposes only. I'd love to say they verbally accosted me at the Walmart parking lot based on our conversations on KIDO Talk Radio, but I can't do that injustice to Dennis and his lovely wife, and they swear by CBD oil. But there's no standards for it. You could go make it in your tub, and you could sell it. And many people think that's a good idea. I don't agree with that.
Well, I agree with it because you can walk into any store, just about any store, and buy the strongest addictive in the world called nicotine that'll guaranteed to kill you, cause COPD, heart failure, disease of all different kinds, 20,000 poisonous gases, and you even have a gentleman that you're good friends with advertise it on your station.
That would be the great American Sean Hannity. Liberal Steve, thank you for the call. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Let's go to Hank in Boise with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Hank.
Morning. My theme on this is that the situation with the growth of the Democrat Party, particularly in Ada County, and also its growing influence in Idaho, is basically centered in education. I think that our last three Republican governors are at fault for this to a large degree. Kemp Thorne, Butchie Baby, and I don't think Little's going to improve the situation in that the appointments that they appointed to the State Board of Education are just simply god-awful. And there's no real accountability. We've got a situation here where, Dr. Custer is acting as a political consultant to Mayor Beater. That's what his exact job is, and to the Ada County Democrat Party on taxpayers' expense, probably on the dime of the students. And there's, again, no accountability. I don't see anybody in the legislature or on the state board questioning this employment. And the fact of the matter is we don't insist. Little, I don't see any effort on Brad Little's part to insist on diversification of the political viewpoints in Boise State when you have everybody who is solidly liberal and far left on that campus.
Well, let's get back to, and people just tuning in, Channel 7 did a story, the libs aren't taking over. I think the libs are taking over, man. It's like that whole thing where you're the frog in the pot and you don't realize you're burning up until it's too late.
Well, they've been complacent in there, but it's mostly a case. It's not so much complacent; it's fear. I mean, I watched Grant Ipson and other legislators not only get defeated, they thought that they could hide in the corner and pretend that they not try to confront the education lobby or not confront what's been going on at Boise State, and it doesn't work for them in the end.
Well, I don't know how you expect them to confront that.
Well, they need for one thing, they need to insist on the instructors out there that we get conservatives.
Isn't that a case of academic freedom, and then people are going to say you're like the Chinese?
Well, we got a Chinese situation there. Boise State was cited, as you remember, a couple of years back by Attorney General Sessions as having the worst record for freedom of speech and discrimination against conservatives and religious groups and any college campus. And this is supposed to be in conservative Idaho. I mean, we got one of we were cited as the top, the worst of them in there by Attorney General Sessions. I see this as the fault of our governor and our legislators not doing anything about it.
All right, Hank, thank you for the call. Let's go to Max in Garden City with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio.
Good morning, Kevin. You know,
morning,
it's
Max.
really nice. It's nice to hear liberal Steve, coherent and speaking intelligently. Steve, good job, buddy. You keep it up. But he is entirely wrong about saying that marijuana is not deadly. He needs to work in ER in a large city, as I have done, and see just how many marijuana-related deaths there are. Marijuana, I understand, it doesn't stand alone. Nobody anymore really sits around and just puffs on a joint. This is mixed with alcohol This is mixed with Benadryl with a number of other substances.
No, you're correct. You're correct, sir.
And marijuana becomes what we call an adjuvant, an ingredient that speeds the effects, enhances the effects of other substances. And what you end up with is marijuana-related death. In China, where it's very tightly policed, I've seen them. They've come across my table. DOA, I mean, autopsies reveal it. People we've treated live, it shows. Please, guys, don't listen to this. It's not deadly. It's not potentially fatal. It's not going to destroy brain cells. And don't lean on the fact that, well, I can buy a beer, I can buy tobacco. Sure you can. Does that mean we should compound our stupidity by allowing marijuana to be on the shelf? Earth calling. It is a potentially fatal. That's all I have to say about that. And you keep up the good work, hang in there, and maybe someday you will deign to contact me. We'll get together and do something about this on the radio. All right, buddy?
God bless, Max. Thank you.
All righty.
You're listening to Kevin Miller on your home for Hannity, KIDO Talk Radio. Bless you. Rolling right along. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Coming up, the city of Boise has spent $4,000 on the Be Kind Day. You might have heard the positive propaganda coverage emanating from every speaker across the Treasure Valley, except this one, the voice of independence. Your voice, your vote, your place to be heard. And apparently, Mayor Beater spent $4,000 to tell people to be kind. Imagine what you could have done with that $4,000 to address the problem the mayor is afraid to discuss publicly, and that is the homeless situation in his city. More on that coming up. First, traffic and weather together. KIDO Talk Radio time, 6:58 with Kevin Miller in the morning. Hello, Robin. And I'm Kevin Miller in the morning. Coming up, the latest on the medical marijuana debacle and why the Senate blocked $4.5 billion for the latest border bill. And your review, your commentary on the libs. Now, that's an entertaining way to start the day. Good morning.